Hey everyone, it's Angela Allen. Welcome back to the Handmade Homestead and Garden. Let's talk about dual purpose vegetables. Vegetables that you grow in your garden and some fruits where you can use more than one part of the plant and fruit or vegetable to eat or process and put away for a later time. There are a lot of fruits and vegetables like that. It's especially common with vegetables to be able to eat more than one part. And I want to talk about some of those today. Not all of them certainly, because there are a lot, but you'll be surprised how many vegetables you can actually eat all of or most of, and you're throwing away a lot of good nutrition and a lot of good food by throwing away some of the parts. Let's go. One of the best examples of this are turnips. You have the turnip bulb and you have the turnip green, and both of those, not only are they nutritious and delicious, they're super productive in a garden. And in a small garden, you get a lot of food for one plant. The plants can get quite large, and they also offer you the opportunity of planting them at least twice, maybe 3 times in your growing season. We're in zone 7A. We almost lean into 7B, but let's just call it 7A. That's close enough. Now, I can grow a lot of fruits and vegetables in my growing season. Right now, we are in the first week of July, and I still have at least 100 days left of growing season here. So that allows for a lot of succession planting and a lot of extra plantings where I just plant one time, use all that produce, pull it all out, and then plant again. So I am frequently sticking in new plants. In fact, right now on my gardening bench out in the garden, I have 100 cups of dirt waiting for me to replant them with more plants to put out for my fall garden. If you don't plant a spring garden and then again a fall planting season for a fall garden, you're missing out on half of your growing season. Let's talk about some of those fruits and vegetables, especially the vegetables that you can grow in your garden that allow you more than one crop for each time that you plant them. The first dual purpose plant I want to talk to you about in the garden isn't a fruit or a vegetable. It's a flower. This is the nasturtium flower. The flowers themselves are edible, the leaves are edible, and they have a light peppery flavor, the leaves being a little bit stronger than the flowers themselves. They come in a bunch of colors. They're a great trap crop in that pests will bother those first in your garden and leave your vegetables alone. And on top of that, in the fall, the seed pods make the best fall capers imaginable. It's really fun to gather a bunch of them and pickle them, and all winter long you've got what tastes like peppery capers to use in salads and other Mediterranean dishes. Nasturtium flowers also self-seed, so you'll get them coming back year after year opportunistically around your garden, but they're always beautiful and the pollinators love them too. They are the first on my list of wonderful dual-purpose plants. These are all pepper plants. I planted 85 pepper plants this year because I really need some dried peppers and I need peppers in my freezer for meals. So I'm growing a lot and I have a lot of varieties. There's probably 5 varieties right there alone. But not only can you eat the peppers, the fruit that's produced, you can eat the fruit at different stages, be green or in between the green and red stage. Red is a fully ripe pepper, but really, we eat them at all stages, right? You can also eat the leaves. Pepper plant leaves are also edible. You can use them in salads, that kind of thing. They're a little bit tough sometimes, but again, it's another produce that you grow in your garden, another plant that has dual purpose. Strawberries. We all know how delicious they are. And when I process the strawberries and I cut the tops off, I leave just a tiny bit of fruit there, dehydrate them, and I use them in tea. And strawberry leaves are also really good in tea. You could put them in salad, but they're a little bit tough, so you probably wouldn't want to do that. Flowers are quite pretty, but again, yeah, the fruit, you can use the fruit top, something you throw away, and the leaves in tea as well. These also are growing in a green stalk, but you can grow them in the ground successfully too. You can propagate them to have more plants for yourself, and we all know how delicious they are. Talk about squash plants. These are butternut. These are cucumbers, but the whole family of squash, cucumbers, summer squash, all of those, not only is the fruit edible, the flowers are edible, and the leaves are. These are Waltham butternut. Those are, I think, Space Master cucumbers. There's another bag of them over there. I have them scattered all through my garden, but definitely they're edible. And just so you know, that's kale and clay on them. I want to make sure the squash bugs don't find an easy time taking over my squash plants. These are kombucha squash and buttercup squash, I believe. There's also some melons over there. But again, the flowers are definitely edible. These are different kinds of zucchini plants right here. And again, the plant is actually edible, and so are the flowers. And it's very common in Italian cuisine to eat stuffed squash flowers or squash blossoms. They're stuffed with a filling, sometimes meat, sometimes breadcrumbs, and pan fried. They're delicious. You can also bake them with a sauce on them. But not only is the squash edible, the flowers are edible, and the leaves would be. I don't know that I'd want to eat them. They are kind of spiky and tough, but it is possible. Calendula flowers. These are just little flowers. This one has a little bee in it. How sweet is that? The flowers are used in a lot of medicinal purposes for salves. They're good for the skin, but you can also eat the petals. You can put them right in salad. The whole head you can dehydrate and use in tea, but the leaves are also edible, and they're kind of bitter, and they're not something I'd really want to eat myself, but you could if you wanted to. Not only are carrots edible, the carrot tops are not just edible, but highly usable. The tops are great in pesto, and they make a perfect parsley substitute. Do not tomato leaves are edible. Now, I wouldn't eat a lot of them, and they're not great tasting. They're probably a little bit on the bitter side, but a very small amount in a salad can add some good flavor, that good tomatoey flavor. Not only the tomatoes edible, but a few of the leaves perfectly fine to eat too. One of my favorite garden vegetables for its multi-purpose use are onions. Not only is the bulb edible, the greens are edible, and so are these beautiful flowers. Onion flowers have a light oniony flavor, and they're delicious in salad. And they're so pretty. You wouldn't want to eat these tough stalks that hold up the onion flowers. Those are super tough. But all of the onion greens, you can see if you look down in there, I've been cutting them because we eat them regularly. And you can pull them up and you can eat the bulb as well. So these are actually one of those unique 3 different purpose vegetables that are definitely worth growing. Kale is another multi-purpose vegetable. We all know about eating the kale leaves, but you know that you can actually eat the seed pods on kale? When they're young, once they get to this stage and they're tough, you probably don't want to eat them. And I'm going to pull this monstrous plant out as soon as these dry a little bit more, because this is Ragged Jack, my favorite kind of kale, and I want to be able to use those seeds to plant next year. But at the same time, I don't want all of those thousands and thousands of seeds falling into my garden, self-seeding, and being volunteers for next year's garden, because they would literally cover this bed. So they're going to come out soon, but in the meantime, they look really pretty, and we've had more than enough of the leaves and seed pods from this plant. We have a whole nother patch of kale on the other side of the garden. Echinacea is another multi-purpose crop. You can see this one is just about to flower, but the flower heads, those petals, The leaves and the roots all have medicinal properties. I dehydrate a lot of the petals every year. They don't have much flavor. They don't have a huge medicinal value, probably the petals. I think most of the value of echinacea is in the root first, the leaves second, and then the petals. But the petals keep their color when dehydrated, and I mix them in with all kinds of other tea blends just because they're so beautiful. They add this really wonderful purple color. Echinacea comes in more than one color. There's like a reddish pink, there's a deep purple, there's this light lavender purple, there's even a white, I believe. So check them out. They're a perennial, they come back every year, but they have multiple purposes, and their beauty can't be overstated too. This is fennel, and fennel is another multi-purpose crop. Now there's two different kinds of fennel. There's the fennel that forms the ball at the bottom, and you can eat the ball or the head, almost like a wide base of celery, and the fronds. This is bronze fennel. It doesn't produce that base at the bottom, but you can use the fronds. And you know, I'm running my hands through it and it smells so beautiful just doing that. But it's also, this one at least, is starting to go to seed. And those seed pods, you can see each one of these little brackets here is going to be a seed pod. Produces fennel seeds that you can collect, and you can use it to regrow fennel, or you can use it to season things. It's very commonly used in sausage. Has a light licorice smell. The fennel, this bronze fennel, is just really beautiful. It is a perennial. It'll get bigger and bigger and bigger next year. And I love having it in the garden. This is going to get quite tall. It's only about almost 4 feet tall now, 3.5 feet tall, but this will be super tall next year. You can get 5 or 6 feet tall, and it smells so good. And if you break off a little couple of pieces and chew them, they are super sweet and they taste very intensely like licorice. But that is a plant, especially if you grow the bulb fennel, that gives you 3 different uses from one planting. I'm in the shade here, you'll have to forgive me, but these are beets. I plant all kinds of beets mixed together, so I get a wide variety with each planting. And these are still young, so they're not big enough to pull and eat, but they will be soon enough. But in the meantime, the greens are absolutely edible. If I go down here at the bottom, you can see there's a beet starting right there. I have a couple of weeds, time to weed in here. But beets are a wonderful dual purpose crop. You can eat the leaves and the bulbs. They pickle well, they freeze well enough. The greens, they freeze well enough too. So that is another great dual purpose crop. Sunflowers. Sunflowers are another wonderful multi-purpose crop. Now, you know that you can eat the heads when they're young. You just clean off all of the center florets, pull off all the petals, and you can roast them or bake them or grill them and eat them. It is very similar to an artichoke. You can use the outside petals here, and I often do for tea, and I'll insert a video up here in the corner somewhere so you can see I have a whole video on making sunflower petal tea. The leaves of sunflower are edible, and in some cultures the stalks are dried, ground up, and used as flour as well. And when the flower head is fully mature, we all know about roasted sunflower seeds. So that's 4 uses, 5 uses from one plant. And if you're adventurous and you feel like trying all of those, you can get a lot of food and a lot of fun out of growing sunflowers. Sweet potatoes. Not only are the tubers edible, but the leaves of sweet potatoes are too. Very common in a lot of cultures to eat sweet potatoes leaves and vines. They grow on a vine, which you can stretch one out. It's common to like cut from here down the last few inches and to cook these like spinach. They taste mildly like sweet potatoes, very mildly, but they are delicious and they're super healthy. They're full of vitamins. I don't usually steam and eat them like spinach because I have so many other greens in my garden, but I do dehydrate them and I use them in soup all winter long as a soup green, and they're delicious. Sweet potatoes, not only do you get the tubers, you get the greens. Another dual purpose vegetable.
These are bush beans down here, and they're right below a trellis. If I pan up, you can see, of trellised northern green beans. I think they're called nor'easter green beans. I save seeds from these beans every year because they are my favorite green bean. They're like a wide Romano bean, and once they start going, they don't quit. I only planted 2 little trellises of them, but you can see they're already producing beans. The thing is about string beans and green beans, you can eat the leaves. It's another dual purpose vegetable in the garden. You can literally eat green bean leaves, and they have a mild beany flavor. But when you have green beans that are this productive, maybe you don't need to eat the greens, but if you needed to, you could. This is another dual purpose garden plant. This is borage, and you can see the bees love it, and that's why I planted it in my garden. It does get quite large. The leaves are edible. You can cook them and put them in soup. They're a little bit hairy, a little bit spiky. I'd stick with the young leaves, but it's also commonly used in tea. But the other thing that's edible about borage are the flowers. These beautiful little blue flowers are edible, and they taste just like cucumbers, like a sweet cucumber flavor. They're quite good. And as you can see, the bees just love them. The plants get quite large. You do have to cut them back frequently. I'm 5 feet tall. This is up to almost my eye level, so I'll pull back so you can see the plant more, but they're edible and they're tasty, and the flowers are really pretty. If you throw them into ice cubes for cold summer drinks, or into salad, or on cakes or desserts, they're really beautiful. This is a blackberry plant. These are prime Arc Freedom blackberries. I love them. I have a huge patch of these out back in the back part of my fence. This one's just kind of coming up here wild, but I thought I'd show you. Not only can you eat the blackberries, of course, the fruit of these wonderful plants, and these are thornless, which makes them even more wonderful, but you can use the leaves in tea. It's a very common addition to tea for teas that are used for specifically for women, for female support. And one of my favorite teas, blackberry leaves, blackberries, and cinnamon sticks. Turnips are another wonderful multi-use plant. Not only do you get the turnip bulb itself, but you get the greens, which are edible and delicious and sought after, and not something that you should ever consider wasting. It's pretty amazing. There's a turnip, not quite ready to pull, but close. You can see right there. But the greens themselves are really delicious. They're full of vitamin C. They're easy to process. You just strip the leaf right off the stem. We could eat the stem, but they're tough. They take a long time to cook. I grow mine absolutely undercover, so we have no problem with bugs. In fact, this whole row is kale, turnip greens, bok choy, and kohlrabi. And all of those are things that you eat the leaves of. Speaking of leaves, let's talk about the brassica family leaves. Kohlrabi, cauliflower, cabbage, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, all of them, you can eat the young leaves. You don't have to wait for the kohlrabi to be a kohlrabi vegetable. You don't have to wait for broccoli to form a head. You don't have to wait for cabbage to form a head or cauliflower. You can pull, strip the young leaves, and you can eat them as a vegetable in your household. Just don't take all of them. Leave plenty of room for the plant to be able to do its job and make its fruit or vegetable, but certainly you don't have to waste those things. Now, I have to admit, there are plenty more items in this garden I could show you that are the same way. They're dual purpose. There are more uses than just the original fruit or the original vegetable that you're growing. And if you just look a little deeper, do a little research. You're going to find there are a lot more things to eat. There's a lot more available food in your garden, in your grow space than you realize. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll see you next time. Take care.